A lot of time signature changes.
Okay.
It's up to you. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear you
Sorry,
before.
yeah, because of
With
this.
these
I was
masks.
saying G and the letters.
I know.
If I was in the right place.
I like read your lips half the time when we're playing and I can't hear you, but now I can't read your lips. Is picking up our speech?
Okay.
Here, maybe let's skip this one. Let's go to
to celebrate the very special love between Matt and Katie as they join in marriage. The marriage of Katie and Matt is the public and legal joining of their souls, which have already been united as one in their hearts. We had hoped to be together in person on this day, but given the challenges 2020 has handed us, we are even more grateful to be able to share in this moment together. Also, one thing that is special about these circumstances is that Matt and Katie were able to envision this wedding ceremony in their own way.
As we begin, we ask that everyone turn off their cell phones so that we can all be fully present with the couple. Over the next half hour, we will guide Matt and Katie through their wedding ceremony. They have chosen to step outside the confines of the traditional wedding ceremony and instead focus on things that matter most to them as a couple. Their choices reflect a thoughtful integration of their values and their ancestry, pulling in pieces of traditional Jewish, Christian, and Chinese weddings. But before we do, we would like to share a few of our own reflections about Katie and Matt.
According to Charles Murray, there are two types of marriages: mergers and startups. Merger marriages are defined by two successful people coming together later in life. Startup marriages, by contrast, are formed early on when the success of the partners is not yet assured. In a startup marriage, the couple shares the experience of their formative years. Matthew and Katie, you have the rare privilege of falling into the latter camp. Your relationship has survived years of long distance during a period when you had nothing keeping you together but the strength of your mutual commitment. Matthew, you lived in Durham, Baton Rouge, Cambridge, and now San Francisco. Katie, sometimes you were close by, sometimes not. This challenge has undoubtedly made you closer as a couple. As everyone watching today can attest, your relationship is supporting and compassionate, and it works exceedingly well. Is that because you chose carefully at the start, or because you grew together, each molding the other? The truth is, it doesn't matter, and that's the beauty of the startup marriage. I've been fortunate to witness one side of this transformation. Matthew, I remember visiting you at Duke your freshman year. At the time, you were mostly interested in soccer. Within a year, you would meet Katie. I have seen you grow in ambition, confidence, and breadth, changes that are no doubt the result of Katie's influence. Of course, your bond is not actually a business entity, and while I cannot invest financially, I can certainly do so emotionally. I wish you both luck on this journey, and I will be rooting you on from the sidelines. Katie, welcome to the family.
Many of the memories that I have of Matt and Katie together come back to the same picture: two people who are endlessly supportive of each other. For their relationship, this support provides a foundation of the strongest kind. I'd like to share just a few of these memories with you. Last Christmas Day at the Guidera household, Laura gave Katie, Matt, and me a riddle. Matt thought about it calmly and methodically, sharing his thinking out loud. He was the first to arrive at the solution, and I remember when he did, Katie was beaming. She said she was so proud of him, and she gave him a big hug. Katie and Matt both say that the other played a critical role in their success at Harvard Business School, with Katie saying that she relied on Matt's finance knowledge, and Matt saying that he relied on Katie's insights and savvy into the interpretation of cases. When you are with Katie and Matt, their supportive, loving relationship is expansive, and it carries over to those who they are with. And this final story speaks to that. I was recently furniture shopping with Katie and Matt in downtown Noe, their new neighborhood in San Francisco. We stopped at a cafe for a snack, and Matt saw some chia seed pudding in the glass case as we were standing in line for the cashier. He thought about getting this, but then there was a quick back and forth between him and Katie when he remembered that chia seed pudding can be made from almond milk. And so Matt was insisting that he not get the pudding, and Katie was insisting that he feel free. So Matt was looking out for Katie's safety since Katie's allergic to nuts, while Katie was looking out for Matt's enjoyment of the pudding. All of this was easy and heartfelt. And then, had I ever had the chia seed pudding, the two wanted to know. I hadn't. It turned out the pudding didn't have nuts, and so Matt decided that we could get it and I could have it if I liked it, but he would finish it as a backup. And then at the register, in classic Katie fashion, I didn't have the chance to pay, and she treated me.
Katie, I can't believe today is your wedding day. For all of my life, I've looked up to you and gone to you when I need guidance. And through it all, you have taught me how to have confidence in who I am and shown me how to handle any situation with grace and patience. I am especially grateful to have you and Matt as a great role model for a balanced, loving, and supportive relationship. I remember when you and Matt came home that first Christmas, and Matt's excitement at our big backyard, unwrapping the gifts under the tree, brought a renewed excitement and energy to our festivities for our entire family. I also remember his willingness to bundle up, stand outside in the cold for a photo shoot of you two and Owlie on the driveway. And since then, I've been in awe of the love that you and Matt have for each other, the excitement to learn and grow together, even when it's not the most pleasant, and your willingness to support each other, even a decade later, but still push each other to be the best people that you can be. In everything you guys do, whether it's ruthlessly battling in a game of Catan or lovingly completing a home workout on the floor, I can see the happiness that you bring to each other and the care that you truly have for one another. Matt, I'm so happy that you're a part of my sister's life and that today you're officially becoming a part of our family. I cannot wait to see what the future holds.
We are standing here today under a canopy known as a huppah. Taken as a whole, the huppah symbolizes the Jewish home, while the covering above us suggests the presence of God at this ceremony. A Jewish wedding is composed of two parts, the kiddushin, when the couple commits themselves to one another, and the nisuin, when the couple starts a life together. According to tradition, a Jewish wedding is a distinctly public act. It signifies the endurance of the Jewish people and affirms their covenant with God. On that note, we are particularly glad you can join us today to witness the marriage of Matthew and Katie. We begin with the kiddushin. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al ha'ariot, ve'asar lanu, et ha'arusot, v'hitir lanu, et hanesuot lanu, al yedei huppah v'kiddushin. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh amo Israel, al yedei huppah v'kiddushin. In Judaism, the marriage contract is called the ketubah. Later in the ceremony, Matthew and Katie will sign this contract. Once married, they will frame the ketubah and hang it in their home as a continuous reminder of their dedication to one another. I will now read an excerpt. On the third day of the week, the 24th day of the month of November, in the year 2020, corresponding to the 8th day of Kislev in the year 5781, here in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, in the presence of family and friends, the beloveds Matthew and Katie entered into the covenant of marriage. As we embark on life's journey, we promise to love, cherish, encourage, and inspire one another. Our hearts fuse together, creating a unique bond with friendship and compassion at its core. Through this union, we vow to value and support each other, always striving to show sensitivity to each other's needs. We shall nurture one another emotionally, spiritually, and intellectually, always mindful of our respective qualities and strengths. May we continue to grow together, maintaining the courage and determination to pursue our desired paths. We promise to celebrate life's joys with grace and overcome life's adversities with tenacity. May we maintain the intimacy that fosters trust, honesty, and communication. As life partners, we shall strive to build a home committed to our Jewish heritage, a home emanating love, peace, tolerance, and charity. Through each other's eyes, we see the world anew. May we be better together. All this is valid and binding.
In the next section of the wedding, we're going to do something called the 7 blessings, which are traditionally shared as part of a Jewish wedding ceremony. The blessings are adapted from ancient teachings and are recited at the wedding ceremony and over the next 7 days. The blessings are about the creation of the world, the creation of humankind, the unity of loving people, and the joy of marriage. Katie and Matt have asked family and friends to each select a short thought, passage, or quote that reflects the theme of each blessing. For each blessing, I'll announce what it is. Will will read the prayer, and then we'll have the selected couple come up and speak. So the first blessing is renewal. Oh, at that microphone, sorry. The first blessing is renewal, and Chris and Kate have been chosen to share a passage.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen.
Rather than just one journey, I like to think of life as a collection of them. The conclusion of each being a time for reflection, celebration, renewal, and the beginning of the next. In paraphrasing Lao Tzu, remember that each journey began and will begin with a single step.
Thank you. The second blessing is wonder. Lauren and Matt will be sharing their passage.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehakol bara lifodo.
I don't know who's had the pleasure of going to one of the 7 wonders of the world, but each are a testament to beauty, time, and hard work. And I know every time Matt looks at Katie, he thinks he's looking at the 8th wonder of the world.
Thanks. The third blessing is commitment. Chip and Susan will share their passage.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer ha'adam.
Commitment is a form of love. It can be expressed in many ways. One is ritual, like making your bed together every day and being together at night and saying something meaningful, which is what my wife and I do. Commitment also can be expressed in the form of memories, travel experiences, doing things that give you pleasure, and especially doing something for each other that the other one does not necessarily want to do. And the last is experience, in doing things for each other and with each other that expand upon the life journey, which in very many great ways. And the last is that you should always use 2 words throughout your marriage, yes and dear, and use them together.
The next blessing is awareness. Spencer and Will share a passage.
Awareness is a toughie. We were Googling, sorry.
Okay, let me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzar et ha'adam betzalmo, betzelem dimut tavnito, vehikon lo mimenu binyan adead. Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer ha'adam.
Awareness is still a toughie. Sorry about that. We were Googling a bunch of quotes about awareness, and I'm no more aware now than I was when I started what the word officially means. But and Googling a bunch, I think for us, awareness has come to mean, a consciousness and just an enjoyment of the daily blessings of the now. And so I will pass on to you a quote that my dad used to say to me a lot, which was that yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. And so we know that as this wedding ceremony celebrates your 10 years of shared history and the long future you're going to build together, we hope that you can take a moment to just enjoy the now and the people around here who love you and the many people watching on the internet who feel the same way.
The fifth blessing is compassion. John will be sharing a passage.
Sos tasis vitagal ha'akara, bekibutz baneha latoha besimha, Baruch ata Adonai, mesameya tzion bevaneha.
No matter who we are, no matter how successful, no matter what our situation, compassion is something we all need to receive and give. True compassion means not only feeling another's pain, but also being moved to help relieve it.
The sixth blessing is love. Steve and Anne will share their passage.
Sameya tesama reim ahuvim, Kusamehaha yetzirha began eden mikedem, Baruch atah Adonai, mesameya chatan v'kala.
Love begins as a friendship that catches fire. To love is to say, you are my sun, you are my moon, and all of my stars.
The final blessing is jubilation. Devin and Shane will share a passage.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher baras hasan v'simha, hatan v'kala, gilarina ditza v'hedva, ahava v'ahava, v'shalom v'reut mehera Adonai Eloheinu yishama, ba'arei Yehuda u'v'chutzot Yerushalayim kol sasan ve'ekol simha, kol hatan ve'ekol kala. Kol mitzalot, hatanim mehupatam, unearim mimishte nigenatam. Baruch atah Adonai, mesameya hatan im hakala.
Jubilation means a feeling of or the expression of joy or exaltation. To quote Mark Twain, to get the full value of joy, you must have someone to divide it with. I can speak for all the guests in saying we're so excited to watch you multiply your joy by dividing it between each other.
We have chosen to include two components of the ceremony that honor the culture, heritage, and religions of Katie's family. So first we'll have Grandma Guidera come to the stand. She's chosen a Christian prayer to read from St. Paul to the Corinthians.
A reading from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. Brothers and sisters, strive eagerly for the greatest spiritual gifts, but I shall show you a still more excellent way. If I speak in human and angelic tongues, but do not have love, I am a resounding gong or a clashing cymbal. And if I have the gift of prophecy and comprehend all mysteries and all knowledge, if I have all faith, so as to move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away everything I own, and if I hand my body over so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. It is not jealous, it is not pompous. It is not inflated, it is not rude. It does not seek its own interests. It is not quick-tempered, it does not brood over injury. It does not rejoice over wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. The word of the Lord.
Thank you, Grandma Guidera. And now our mom, Ann Guidera, will say 2 traditional Chinese sayings.
一见钟情，
This translates to love at first sight.
花好月圆，
This translates to may your lives together be as beautiful as the spring flowers and as full as the mid-August moon.
You all may have noticed something fairly unique about these proceedings, and that is that there's no singular officiant marrying me and Katie. Turns out, in the state of Pennsylvania, there's an old Quaker law that allows a couple to marry themselves without an officiant. So we've gone that route and will now officially sign the document that, and then read our vows to one another. We've chosen to make it legal first, then read our vows, just in case we are disappointed in what the other person has to say. We already filled out our portion. For those wondering at home and here why we're not doing the signing, Katie and I actually already filled out our portion, so we're just getting the witnesses to now sign. All right, and now that I've tricked Katie into marrying me, we can jump into our vows. Katie, I have too many reasons why I love you to say them all during this speech, so I'm thankful we have the rest of our lives for me to shower you with those compliments. But in the next couple of minutes, I wanted to remind us of what's been amazing so far, tell you why I'm so excited to marry you, and then promise to be the best partner I can be. So first, what has been so amazing? I can easily say that the past 9 years have been the best of my life because you've been my partner in crime. I love that we complement each other's strengths and that we can always work as a team, or more specifically, that you do everything for us and allow me to tag along. I love that I'm not just marrying you, but the whole Guidera family. I love that I can always trust you, not necessarily to put your dish from the sink into the dishwasher, but definitely with the big stuff, like my life. I love that you also like to cuddle, and I love that we can coexist but still be our own people. Like when we grew when we were apart, but never grew apart. Next, why I'm excited to marry you. This part was easy. You're simply the most incredible person I've ever met. You're such a great partner, sister, and friend, and some of the things that make you unique and qualities that I hope rub off on me over our lifetime together are your amazing moral fiber. You always know what the right thing to do is, and do it even if it's hard because you're strong. You never shy away from a challenge, and you epitomize the phrase that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. You're prompt, and you try to make me prompt too, and thankfully, you're patient, especially when I'm always late. So at this point, it's incredibly obvious that I'm the luckiest person in the world to be standing here today, and to not take that privilege for granted, this is what I want to promise to you. I promise to always be loyal. I promise to put you first through thick and thin. I promise we will continue to take vacations, even of the skiing variety. I promise I'll always kill the insects you want me to kill, and put my life on the line when on those random days you instead decide you would prefer me to trap the insect and remove it from the dwelling. I promise I'll continue to be our handyman. I promise we will continue to give to charity. And lastly, and probably most surprisingly, I promise to not make us buy exclusively Craigslist furniture for the rest of our lives. I hope that going through all of this, you're still just as excited to marry me, and I cannot wait to spend the rest of my life with you.
Matthew, I'll be honest. When we first met more than a decade ago, I don't know why you said 9 years, because it was over 10, I did not foresee us standing here together today. I remember very clearly that night that we met. It was April 2010. You were a nerdy college freshman with a really bad haircut, and I was an upbeat high school senior visiting my future alma mater. We ended up at the same party where we met and made small talk, and on my way out, you asked for my number. That night was unremarkable, and I would be lying to call it love at first sight. But I thank God for that night, because in the 3,871 days that would follow, our lives would intertwine in the most beautiful way, and I would get the privilege of falling in love with every dimension of your being. Very early on in our friendship, I fell in love with your compassion. We barely knew each other when my mom had her accident, but you were the first to pick up the phone when I needed a listening ear and a shoulder to cry on. From that point forward, you became a part of my life, my family, my future. Throughout our college years, I fell in love with your imagination. I admired the fact that you never stopped pitching party ideas to your fraternity, even after they fired you as social chair. And I adored the way you kept a running note on your phone full of completely terrible startup ideas. When you moved to Baton Rouge after graduation, I fell in love with the way that you embraced change. You opened yourself up to a culture that was so different from what you had known, and in doing so, you landed firmly on your feet and built lifelong friendships. In the 4 years of long-distance dating that followed, I fell in love with your endless optimism. Even after my hardest days at work, you reminded me that every day is a great day to be alive, and that no matter what, you were mine and I was yours. When we moved to Boston for business school, I fell in love with your selfless grace. In a period of high anxiety for many of our classmates, ourselves included, you found time to make every person you've encountered feel respected and heard. You lit up every room that you entered with the kind of energy that is truly infectious, and you spread joy everywhere you went. And here we are today, in this godforsaken year called 2020. This is the year where I fell in love with your fierce commitment to me. Over these last 9 months, you've endured an exceptionally tumultuous time in my life. And through it all, you've been my light, my rock, my best friend, holding me steady, lifting me up, helping me learn how to love myself again. And with all of my flaws exposed, you've chosen me over and over. The truth is, Matthew, you've already given me more than I could have ever asked for in this lifetime. With you, I wake up every morning feeling unstoppable, because I know there isn't anything we can't overcome together. And I go to sleep every night filled to the brim with gratitude for this amazing life that we are building together. So as we step into these next few decades and our lifelong journey as one, I promise to offer you the same compassion, imagination, flexibility, optimism, and commitment that you have given to me. I promise to remain patient when you talk slowly, to be spontaneous when the moment calls for it, and to always let you take that nap. I promise to give you strength when you feel weak, to be your guiding light when you see darkness, and to rejoice alongside you when you achieve greatness. I promise to love your family as my own, and to work every single day to give you my best self. Today, I marry you without any hesitation. It's the greatest privilege of my life to choose you as my one and only, and I truly cannot wait to grow old and wrinkly with you by my side. With my whole heart and soul, I take you as my husband. I will love you unconditionally until my very last breath.
I know we're sneaking kisses, sorry about that, but 2020. So, by the authority vested in us by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, we can officially say that we now pronounce ourselves husband and wife. Yeah. So now we're going to break a glass, which is a symbol and reminder of the things that are imperfect in this world. But we also break a glass, specifically that material, because it can be remelted and recrafted, so it gives us hope of mending. All right. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. That's pretty sad. All right.